Chapter 47. And in the 7th week, in the 7th year, in the 47th Jubilee, thy father went forth from the land of Canaan, and thou wast born in the 4th week, in the 6th year thereof, in the 48th Jubilee. This was the time of tribulation on the children of Israel. 2. And Pharaoh king of Egypt issued a command regarding them, that they should cast all their male children which were born into the river. 3. And they cast them in for 7 months, until the day that thou wast born. And thy mother hid thee for 3 months, and they told regarding her. 4. And she made an ark for thee, and covered it with pitch and asphalt, and placed it in the flags on the bank of the river. And she placed thee in it 7 days. And thy mother came by night and suckled thee, and by day Miriam thy sister guarded thee from the birds. 5. And in those days Tharmuth, the daughter of Pharaoh, came to bathe in the river, and she heard thy voice crying, and she told her maidens to bring thee forth, and they brought thee unto her. 6. And she took thee out of the ark, and she had compassion on thee. 7. And thy sister said unto her, Shall I go and call unto thee one of the Hebrew women to nurse and suckle this babe for thee? And she said unto her, Go. 8. And she went and called thy mother Jochebed, and she gave her wages, and she nursed thee. 9. And afterwards, when thou wast grown up, they brought thee unto the daughter of Pharaoh, and thou didst become her son, and Amram thy father taught thee writing. And after thou hadst completed 3 weeks, they brought thee into the royal court. 10. And thou wast 3 weeks of years at court, until the time when thou didst go forth from the royal court, and didst see an Egyptian smiting thy friend who was of the children of Israel, and thou didst slay him, and hide him in the sand. 11. And on the 2nd day thou didst find 2 of the children of Israel striving together, and thou didst say to him who was doing the wrong, Why dost thou smite thy brother? 12. And he was angry and indignant, and said, Who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Thinkest thou to kill me, as thou killedst the Egyptian yesterday? And thou didst fear and flee on account of these words. Chapter 48. And in the 6th year of the 3rd week of the 49th Jubilee, thou didst depart and dwell in the land of Midian 5 weeks and 1 year. And thou didst return into Egypt in the 2nd week, in the 2nd year, in the 50th Jubilee. 2. And thou thyself knowest what he spake unto thee on Mount Sinai, and what Prince Mastama desired to do with thee when thou wast returning into Egypt, on the way when thou didst meet him at the lodging place. 3. Did he not with all his power seek to slay thee and deliver the Egyptians out of thy hand, when he saw that thou wast sent to execute judgment and vengeance on the Egyptians? 4. And I delivered thee out of his hand, and thou didst perform the signs and wonders which thou wast sent to perform in Egypt against Pharaoh, and against all his house, and against his servants and his people. 5. And the Lord executed a great vengeance on them for Israel's sake, and smote them through the plagues of blood, and frogs, lice, and dog flies, and malignant boils breaking forth in blains, and their cattle by death and by hailstones. Thereby he destroyed everything that grew for them, and by locusts, which devoured the residue which had been left by the hail, and by darkness, and by the death of the firstborn of men and animals, and on all their idols the Lord took vengeance, and burned them with fire. 6. And everything was sent through thy hand, that thou shouldst declare these things before they were done, and thou didst speak with the king of Egypt before all his servants, and before his people. 7. And everything took place according to thy words. 10 great and terrible judgments came on the land of Egypt, that thou mightest execute vengeance on it for Israel. 8. And the Lord did everything for Israel's sake, and according to his covenant which he had ordained with Abraham, that he would take vengeance on them, as they had brought them by force into bondage. 9. And the prince of the Mastama stood up against thee, and sought to cast thee into the hands of Pharaoh, and he helped the Egyptian sorcerers, and they stood up and wrought before thee. 10. The evils indeed we permitted them to work, but the remedies we did not allow to be wrought by their hands. 11. And the Lord smote them with malignant ulcers, and they were not able to stand, for we destroyed them so that they could not perform a single sign. 12. And notwithstanding all these signs and wonders, the prince of the Mastéma was not put to shame, because he took courage and cried to the Egyptians to pursue after thee with all the powers of the Egyptians, with their chariots and with their horses, and with all the hosts of the peoples of Egypt. 13. And I stood between the Egyptians and Israel, and we delivered Israel out of his hand and out of the hand of his people, and the Lord brought them through the midst of the sea as if it were dry land. 14. And all the peoples whom he brought to pursue after Israel, the Lord our God cast them into the midst of the sea, into the depths of the abyss beneath the children of Israel, even as the people of Egypt had cast their children into the river. He took vengeance on 1,000,000 of them, and 1,000 strong and energetic men were destroyed on account of one suckling of the children of thy people, which they had thrown into the river. 15. And on the 14th day, and on the 15th, and on the 16th, and on the 17th, and on the 18th, the prince of the Mastéma was bound and imprisoned behind the children of Israel, that he might not accuse them. 16. And on the 19th, we let them loose, that they might help the Egyptians and pursue the children of Israel. 17. And he hardened their hearts, and made them stubborn, and the device which was devised by the Lord our God, that he might smite the Egyptians and cast them into the sea. 18. And on the 14th, we bound him, that he might not accuse the children of Israel on the day when they asked the Egyptians for vessels and garments, vessels of silver, and vessels of gold, and vessels of bronze, in order to despoil the Egyptians in return for the bondage in which they had forced them to serve. 19. And we did not lead forth the children of Israel from Egypt empty-handed.
Chapter 49 of the Book of Jubilees. Remember the commandment which the Lord commanded thee concerning the Passover, that thou shouldst celebrate it in its season on the 14th of the first month, that thou shouldst kill it before it is evening, and that thou shouldst eat it by night on the evening of the 15th from the time of the setting of the sun. For on this night, the beginning of the festival and the beginning of the joy, you were eating the Passover in Egypt, when all the powers of Mastama had been let loose to slay all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh to the firstborn of the captive maidservant in the mill, and to the cattle. And this is the sign which the Lord gave them. Into every house on the lintels of which they saw the blood of a lamb of the first year, into that house they should not enter to slay, but should pass by it, that all those should be saved that were in the house, because the sign of the blood was on its lintels. And the powers of the Lord did everything according as the Lord commanded them. And they passed by all the children of Israel, and the plague came not upon them to destroy from amongst them any soul, either of cattle or man or dog. And the plague was very grievous in Egypt, and there was no house in Egypt where there was not one dead, and weeping and lamentation. And all Israel was eating the flesh of the paschal lamb, and drinking the wine, and was lauding and blessing, and giving thanks to the Lord God of their fathers, and was ready to go forth from under the yoke of Egypt, and from the evil bondage. And remember thou this day all the days of thy life, and observe it from year to year all the days of thy life, once a year on its day, according to all the law thereof, and do not adjourn it from day to day, or from month to month. For it is an eternal ordinance, and engraven on the heavenly tables regarding all the children of Israel, that they should observe it every year on its day once a year, throughout all their generations, and that there is no limit of days, for this is ordained forever. And the man who is free from uncleanness, and does not come to observe it on occasion of its day, so as to bring an acceptable offering before the Lord, and to eat and to drink before the Lord on the day of its festival, that man who is clean and close at hand will be cut off. Because he offered not the oblation of the Lord in its appointed season, he will take the guilt upon himself. Let the children of Israel come and observe the Passover on the day of its fixed time, on the 14th day of the first month, between the evenings from the third part of the day to the third part of the night, for 2 portions of the day are given to the light, and a third part to the evening. This is that which the Lord commanded thee, and thou shouldst observe it between the evenings. And it is not permissible to slay it during any period of the night, but during the period bordering on the evening. And let them eat it at the time of the evening until the third part of the night. And whatever is left over of all its flesh from the third part of the night and onwards, let them burn it with fire. And they shall not cook it with water, nor shall they eat it raw, but roast on the fire. They shall eat it with diligence, its head with the inwards thereof, and its feet they shall roast with fire, and not break any bone thereof. For of the children of Israel no bone shall be crushed. For this reason the Lord commanded the children of Israel to observe the Passover on the day of its fixed time, and they shall not break a bone thereof, for it is a festival day, and a day commanded, and there may be no passing over from day to day and month to month, but on the day of its festival let it be observed. And do thou command the children of Israel to observe the Passover throughout their days, every year, once a year, on the day of its fixed time. And it will come for a memorial well-pleasing before the Lord, and no plague will come upon them to slay or to smite in that year in which they celebrate the Passover in its season, in every respect according to his command. And they shall not eat it outside the sanctuary of the Lord, but before the sanctuary of the Lord, and all the people of the congregation of Israel shall celebrate it in its appointed season. And every man who is come upon its day shall eat it in the sanctuary of your God before the Lord from 20 years old and upward. For thus is it written and ordained that they should eat it in the sanctuary of the Lord. And when the children of Israel come into the land which they are to possess, into the land of Canaan, and set up the tabernacle of the Lord in the midst of the land, in one of their tribes, until the sanctuary of the Lord has been built in the land, let them come and celebrate the Passover in the midst of the tabernacle of the Lord, and let them slay it before the Lord from year to year. And in the days when the house has been built in the name of the Lord, in the land of their inheritance, they shall go there and slay the Passover in the evening, at sunset, at the third part of the day. And they will offer its blood on the threshold of the altar, and shall place its fat on the fire which is upon the altar, and they shall eat its flesh, roast it with fire, in the court of the house which has been sanctified in the name of the Lord. And they may not celebrate the Passover in their cities, nor in any place save before the tabernacle of the Lord, or before his house where his name hath dwelt. And they will not go astray from the Lord. And do thou, Moses, command the children of Israel to observe the ordinances of the Passover, as it was commanded unto thee. Declare thou unto them every year, and the day of its days, and the festival of unleavened bread, that they should eat unleavened bread 7 days, and that they should observe its festival, and that they bring an oblation every day during those 7 days of joy before the Lord on the altar of your God. For ye celebrated this festival with haste when ye went forth from Egypt, till ye entered into the wilderness of Shur. For on the shore of the sea ye completed it. Chapter 50. Laws regarding the Jubilees, 1 through 5, and the Sabbath, 6 through 13. And after this law I made known to thee the days of the Sabbaths in the desert of Sinai, which is between Elim and Sinai. And I told thee of the Sabbaths of the land on Mount Sinai, and I told thee of the Jubilee years and the Sabbaths of years. But the year thereof have I not told thee, till ye enter the land which ye are to possess. And the land also will keep its Sabbaths while they dwell upon it, and they will know the Jubilee year. Wherefore I have ordained for thee the year, weeks, and the years and the Jubilees. There are 49 Jubilees from the days of Adam until this day, and 1 week and 2 years, and there are yet 40 years to come. Open parentheses, literally distant, close parentheses, for learning the commandments of the Lord, until they pass over into the land of Canaan, crossing the Jordan to the west. And the Jubilees will pass by until Israel is cleansed from all guilt of fornication and uncleanliness, and pollution and sin and error, and dwells with confidence in all the land. And there will be no more a Satan or any evil one, and the land will be clean from that time forevermore. And behold the commandment regarding the Sabbaths. I have written them down for thee. and all the judgments of its laws. 6 days wilt thou labor, but on the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it ye shall do no manner of work, ye and your sons, and your men servants, and your maidservants, and all your cattle, and the sojourner also who is with you. And the man that does any work on it shall die. Whoever desecrates that day, whoever lies with his wife, or whoever says he will do something on it, that he will set out on a journey thereon in regard to any buying or selling, and whoever draws water thereon, which he had not prepared for himself on the 6th day, and whoever takes up any burden to carry it out of his tent or out of his house, shall die. Ye shall do no work whatever on the Sabbath day, save what ye have prepared for yourselves on the 6th day, so as to eat and drink and rest, and keep Sabbath from all work on that day, and to bless the Lord your God, who has given you a day of festival, and a holy day, and a day of the holy kingdom for all Israel is this day among their days forever. For great is the honor which the Lord has given to Israel, that they should eat and drink and be satisfied on this festival day, and rest thereon from all labors which belong to the labor of the children of men, save burning frankincense, and bring oblations and sacrifices before the Lord for days and for Sabbaths. This work alone shall be done on the Sabbath days in the sanctuary of the Lord your God, that they may atone for Israel with sacrifice continually from day to day for a memorial well-pleasing before the Lord, and that he may receive them always from day to day according as thou hast been commanded. And every man who does any work thereon, or goes a journey, or tills his farm, whether in his house or another place, and whoever lights a fire, or rides on any beast, or travels by ship on the sea, and whoever strikes or kills anything, or slaughters a beast or a bird, or whoever catches an animal or a bird or a fish, or whoever fasts or makes war on the Sabbaths, the man who does any of these things on the Sabbath shall die, so that the children of Israel shall observe the Sabbaths according to the commandments regarding the Sabbaths of the land, as it is written in the tables, which he gave into my hands, that I should write out for thee the laws of the seasons, and the seasons according to the division of their days. Herewith is completed the account of the division of the days. End of chapter 50. End of the Book of Jubilees, translated by Robert Charles.